Welcome, everybody, to the Alternative F1 podcast powered by Virgin Magazine. We're back at it again, season 2. We're still in a COVID thing, but fear not, we're still here, cracking on. We've got Andre Dixon in the house as always. But, you know, we've had this person on last time, but we figured we've come a long way since. More so him than us. We still don't really know what we're doing. Tom McCluskey, aka Tommo, how you doing? Good, sir.
Boys, I don't believe that for a second. But it has been a minute, lads. It's been a minute. It's been a while. But it's good to be back, boys. It's good to have a good chill chat about Formula One, you know. It's the kind of content that isn't out there enough. So
exactly.
More than happy to be involved.
We want to talk shop. We want to figure out, you know, there's a lot to be excited about. It's a transitional year, I feel, that we're coming up against. So we're going to get stuck into it. But before we get started, of course, what would this podcast be without Natural Barber Company, our main partners of this whole shindig? It's free of synthetics, petrochemicals, and other harmful ingredients that can irritate sensitive skin. And guess what? I've said it before and I'll say it again. Gareth Bale, yes, now Spurs legend 2.0. Forget Real Madrid. He calls it his go-to hair product. And yes, even I, Mr. Matthew Connell himself, uses this product. I introduced this product to Gareth's team and now it's in his robots gym. So, you know, call me influencer if you want, who knows? But nevertheless, shop now, get 15% off, free next day delivery in the UK when you use the code ALTSPORT15. There's a referral link in the bio to get a little extra cheese off, but you know, go, see yourself, naturalbarber.co. Now, gentlemen, the business end is done. Now, 2021, we're finally getting some kind of normality back. We've had testing in Bahrain. I'm going to kick it off with you, Dre, as you know, I try not to overtalk this intro and I want to get you in as soon as possible. What were your thoughts? what have we learned, mate?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, it's as much as the media kind of want to, you know, F1 media want to really kind of get the excitement up. Like I don't see that there's much difference really, to be honest with you. Like if we, I mean, I'm going to leave it to the expert, Tommo more than me, but I'll lead to his knowledge. But you know, from what I saw, my brief takes is obviously Red Bull look really, really strong. Technically, at the moment, they are the strongest team and favourites. Obviously, but Mercedes, as we know, always a sandbagging. I think, you know, kind of not showing all the strength that they have, but there are pace problems. There are some things that they need to tinker with, but I do think they'll come out swinging. Same again to me, going to be champions. But the one that's interesting to me, and I'll refer to Tommo in this, is the mid-table race. That's the thing that really got me back, really excited in F1. So I'm looking at McLaren, AlphaTauri, obviously Aston Martin with the change of drivers that they had, big time Seb coming in to rule the roost there. And then it's weird for me to say mid-table, but Ferrari as well. But that's the most interesting part of it for me. AlphaTauri look serious. You know, I know McLaren can have a fight on their hands for that third spot. You know, I feel that. To me, I'm looking at AlphaTauri. They look very, very strong, but I will refer my knowledge to Tommo and take my seat and learn.
Hey, well, listen, Dre, to be fair, though, mate, I'm not like the sentiment of what you're saying. I kind of agree with. I do think that too much kind of, look, we're all getting excited. New season starting. Everyone wants to challenge. Like the more that Mercedes dominate, the more we generally want them to topple. And it was the same when Red Bull were dominating. Like, even if you're a Red Bull fan, you still would have welcomed more of a challenge, and that did eventually come. And the thing is, yeah, obviously, what you got to remember is, so 2016, 17, 18, and 19, Ferrari won testing, right?
Yeah.
And 0 world titles, 0 drivers' titles, not even remotely close last year. Mercedes topped it last year, yes, but Mercedes have never typically, they've not been ones to dominate. And I think 2015, it was like Williams. So like Mercedes have only top testing once in the last like 5-6 years or whatever. So again, I think it's a lot to read into. You kind of got to look at testing because it's not like a race weekend where qualifying, everyone's on the same bit of tarmac with the same goal in mind, right? Everyone wants to go the fastest in those set conditions. Testing, everyone's running completely independent like ways of approaching testing, qualifying runs, like fuel loads, long pace, short pace, testing out different tires and all that as well. So like, I am very reluctant, as much as I'd love to get gassed about Red Bull, potential title challenges this year. Like, I'd love to get gassed about it, trust me. And obviously with Sergio coming in, you know, very proven. I mean, I was reading a tweet from Lawrence Barretto earlier saying that actually, relative to Max, Sergio was quicker if you take away track evolution. I don't know how you can work that out, but I trust Lawrence because he works for Formula One. And but you can look into that and say, oh, well, Sergio's going to beat Max this year. Who knows? But again, I completely agree though with what you're saying. Like, I'm reluctant to read too much into it, but of course that midfield battle is going to be like, I can't call, you can't call it, man. You just can't call it. It's so tight. It's ridiculous. Yeah. And so, yeah, I think that's the thing. There's levels to it, and hopefully Red Bull will challenge Mercedes, and hopefully there'll be a bit of a scrap because, I mean, Racing Point had the fastest car last year, but then they've got a completely unproven lineup. Unfortunately, you've got to say, Seb had a shocking year last year, didn't have an amazing 2019 either. And then Stroll was very hot and cold. Even if that car's amazing, they've not got, I mean, you look at McLaren's driver lineup, Lando and Daniel, you've got Ferrari coming back potentially with Charles and Carlos. And then even like the lower teams, you've got Alfa Romeo and Haas, both for Ferrari engines. The Ferrari engine should be a lot better this year. I don't know, Matt. It's going to be very hard to say. Very hard. Even though there's minimal like changes in the regulations, it's still difficult to call, man, for sure.
Try telling Kimi and Carlos Sainz that, you know, this testing doesn't count. Day 3, right at the end of it, they were just having it off. Got a bit of dicey in there, but you know, this is it. I think the races are looking excited, right? But my question I want to throw out to you guys at the moment is, out of Alpine and Aston Martin, who came out stronger at that session?
I mean, I would say Aston and Mercedes seem to have had the poorest testing session in terms of the fewest laps. But then also, we don't really know, like, it's quality over quantity a lot of the time. Just because you've got a lot of laps in doesn't necessarily mean you've had a good testing session. Although Seb did come out after and say, like, if it was 10 years ago and he was a lot younger, he'd be panicking a lot more than he is now. But he knows that Racing Point, like, platform that is now Aston Martin, is solid. So I think they're in a very good place. Alpine have got a lot more to prove because I think Ricciardo absolutely wrung the neck of that car last year and got everything out of it. And obviously Alonso coming in 2 years out, 39 now. Ocon started to improve towards the end of the last year, but still isn't proven in a way like Daniel Ricciardo is, for example. I don't know, because in my predictions earlier, I said Alpine will beat Aston Martin, but I just don't know, boys. It's so tight, but that's good. That's good. I'm happy that it's tight. You know,
it's good that we've got a few like unanswered questions going into this. I think like McLaren pretty much, you know, sailed through uneventfully in a sense. And I think there's a lot to be seen to when this kind of race unfolds. We'll come on to predictions later on, but you know, it's, I have an idea what I think could happen, but I think, testing left us, of course, wanting more, which is great because now people are going to tune into Bahrain in a week's time and say, well, all of that can go out the window. You know, shout out to the rookies that come through as well. Like everyone, I think, came through showing their worth and showing that they've got a place to be there. Sonoda looked pretty comfortable getting in there. Many, Mick Schumacher was basically feeling out his pit crew. You know, basically almost took out one of the pit crew, the little wrench left in his car.
Jack guy,
the Jack guy.
Did a stroll almost.
At least he didn't like send him flying. So
no,
kudos, Mick. that was good. But we got plenty to look forward to. It was refreshing to see the cars back out on the track. 3-day nice little taster. Dre, was there anything that you felt was a kind of specific highlight? Was there anything that stood out to you? Any errors maybe you saw that you're thinking, okay, like that, like it or hate it? Who knows?
Well, I mean, obviously, I was everyone's focused on Seb when it comes to Aston Martin, but Lance Stroll, he had a very, very good outing as well. I think that he was carrying that team effectively, obviously, because Seb was having difficulties with his car. So I don't think I'm not going to write them off. Obviously, still early days, and the car's got pace. So, but then I think that if we're looking at Alpine, as you mentioned before, like that car's very well put together. There wasn't anything major. Like we're used to, obviously, when it was Renault, being some type of like catastrophe that happens early. The car falls apart, and he's just left with a seat in the middle of the road. Those types of things. Comedy Central, normally.
That's why Daniel Ricciardo left.
Exactly. He's like, I've had enough of this. So there wasn't anything that gave away too much. But Tsunoda and Gasly, I mean, I know I'm a bit of a Gasly fanboy, but that car looks. I mean, I've said this for a while. Like, I think he's the one who's going to move up to one of the bigger teams next, Gasly, personally. So I remember just was it a couple of weeks ago, a week ago, I saw that he liked one of Mercedes' pictures. I'm doing my little.
He's already fishing, Pierre.
I'm trying to get in that exclusive so I can say I said it first. But, yeah, there wasn't. There's obviously we're looking at as you mentioned, like everyone's got different strategies, everyone's trying different things, so it's kind of difficult to pinpoint and say that these guys are the ones. But I would say overall, I'm looking at Red Bull, I'm looking at AlphaTauri. It seems like their stuff is together. AlphaTauri, if we're just talking about mid-table, the reason why I'm saying AlphaTauri is because obviously some of the tweaks that they've made in design, drivers look serious, and I think that they those two are going to compete against each other. Where I feel that Pierre Gasly was far ahead of Kvyat before. Kvyat was just there. Now you've got someone who's actually going to prove something to you because he handled that car very, very well.
And as well, like you can make a compelling argument for any of those midfield teams to be at the top. Even like Alpine, that Enstone-based team is the same team that won, 2005, 2006 with Fernando. Like a lot of the same personnel there. They seem to be moving a good. I mean, at Spa last year, they were comfortably the third quickest car. At certain tracks, they had the best platform. Racing Point was the quickest car last year, and all this investment from Lawrence Stroll, who owns Aston Martin, he's going to want to see that marquee at the top. Ferrari obviously want to bounce back, made a lot of mistakes last year. McLaren, obviously, third place, probably one of the strongest driver lineups, but then they've had to implement the Mercedes engine and kind of use time that they would have otherwise had spent on the aero. You can make compelling arguments for all of them. AlphaTauri, again, same, like Honda want to go out with a bang. This is their final year in Formula One. Yeah, and they've moved their 2022, or what was initially their 22, I think, engine package earlier. So that Honda should be like firing all cylinders as well. You can make compelling arguments for all of them, which you can't always do that.
But on the other side, just before, I just want to interject with something. Alfa Romeo, what are we doing? Like, what is the point? Like, I've said this all last season. And I know I'm risking never getting hospitality from them ever.
You are.
But what are we doing?
We've got to start low, Joe. Just remember, we've got to start low, bro.
No. Aston Martin, they've been looking after us a little bit, but that's why they're a bit of favoritism.
A little bias coming out there.
But I has as well. Like, what are we doing there as well?
Oh, mate,
it's just the cut. I mean, we'll get into deliveries in a minute.
Right off.
Inbox you both about what the hell is that?
Right.
But
off.
it's just like. But Alfa Romeo, I say it all the time because like this is a historic brand. This is a historic car. The brand's got prestige. If you look into it, like so much is launched off of the base of their brand. What are we doing? Like it's just literally just like walking around or just being there just to be there.
Yeah.
So those are the two that, unfortunately, only two that I say aren't living up to any form of expectation whatsoever. Because the idea is for you to be able to beat next year's place. I don't see it with both of those two already.
Say how you feel, Dre. Holy smokes. I mean, there we go. Emotions are hot for the start of the season. But here's the thing. I think like final take on that, it'll be interesting to see. It will be interesting to see if Mercedes are maybe playing possum, because Tommo said the exact stat that was sat in my head. The graphic of the row of Ferraris having that fastest testing period coming out on top. And of course, it's resulted to very little. And also, we should probably rename Formula One Formula Al, the Alpine, AlphaTauri, Alfa Romeo. That, good luck to the commentators on that, because that's going to be quite, they're going to get that up a few times. Yeah, good luck. So let's crack on. Of course, Tommo, for people, I mean, surely by now, if you don't know what Tommo's doing, you got to just hit on the YouTube, type in Tommo, Tommo on YouTube to see what the crack is. But Tommo, it's been a bit of a mad year. Of course, you know, we were all restricted to the confinements of what we can do within this COVID world. Just give us a little bit about your kind of content journey in the last year. Of course, you know, you've kind of grown, branched out, subscribers are growing. You've even had Team Quadrant kind of cameos of working alongside Lando, of course, and a few golden bits. So just how has this been this last year? We've been buzzing to see it, and I've been enjoying seeing what's come out.
Yeah, boys, it's been a madness. Like, again, my kind of bread and butter was football. I did West Ham, struggling West Ham fan, of course. I did that content for like 3-4 years, going to games, doing like post-match stuff, and it just never quite kind of took off in the way I'd hoped. And then, yeah, the channel, kind of the F1 channel, I'd done a few videos at Exposure at the start of last year, just went from like, I think from the start of January to the end of January, I went from like 100 and something subscribers to 10K. The algorithm just sorted me right out. It blew up. And then obviously chatted to you guys last year as well. I think it was just after we went into lockdown, wasn't it? So I was probably on about, I don't know, 30, maybe 40, that kind of area subscriber wise. Now I'm on like 150. It's crazy. I got the plaque, all that. It's mad. It still feels.
I'm surprised he's not wearing shades.
It's big time now, you know. Boys, it's crazy. Like, it still doesn't feel, because I've not been able to utilize the opportunities out in the real world that you typically would, given the exposure on my channel and the audience, and like going to races and meeting people. It doesn't really feel that different on a day-to-day basis, because I'm still just in my flat. I'm still just in this room talking to the camera. I'm not meeting anyone. I'm not. So it is this bizarre kind of, I mean, any of you heard this, what happened during the Alpine launch, but I was doing Matt, I was doing a watch along, and I like, because I forget how many people watching. I had about 5K like concurrent at the time, and I was like, I was just joking about spamming Tommo in their chat. And then I go on the Alpine live chat of the official Alpine live stream, and it's just Tommo. And they had to like stop the live chat and then like block my name. Sky Sports F1 had to block my name from their live chat as well. I was like, what the heck? I was like, what the fuck's going on? This is like the most embarrassing moment of my life. And I was just like, I was just joking, but you can't say shit like that on the internet and not expect people to run with it. So yeah, it's just been weird, boys, but I'm enjoying it. I'm having good fun with it. And yeah, that's pretty much.
Just a quick, sorry, Matt. I'm always,
I talk
Matt's
enough on the show as it is.
Matt's had to part with me, or a year of me interrupting him and just talking over him.
The classic Zoom interruption where you can't quite work out when someone's finishing.
Because he puts up with me more than enough, like obviously night and day. But I just want to ask you, like, Tommo, like, obviously last year when we were speaking, obviously I think you were our first guest, I believe you were, so you held that crown. But I remember at that time you hadn't spoken to or met any of the drivers. You know, at that point you was quite raw, I would say, where you would actually come out and say things that I was like,
yes, for sure.
Do you feel that you've had to kind of change your approach now that you've obviously, you know, met one of the, worked with one of the drivers or types of things? So what's your new take? 2021.
I think you're right. I think there's a balance to it, because I'm still not prepared to like be disingenuous with my thoughts and my opinions and feelings. But I think when it dawns on you, like, you do actually have a platform, there's a lot of people listening to you, more so than just, again, like, you got to remember at the start of the first kind of 4 or 5 months of my channel, I had like 200 views in like 4 or 5 months. So like no one was listening. And then obviously once that ramps up a bit, you kind of realize that, okay, there's a lot of people watching. My words carry a bit more weight. So it makes you kind of think into and consider. So for example, my most successful video view-wise, I've hidden now. Well, I'll put it on private. It's my Nicholas Latifi video, because I've watched that one and that had like 600k view. No, I had about 450, I think, when I took it down. And I'd watched it back, and I didn't really like the edit, because it was like at the start, and it was just like I just thought it was a bit shit video, to be honest. it did well because it was a good thumbnail and it was a good title because it was all about where his money comes from. But also, I said a few things in it where I was just rude unnecessarily about, I don't think he's got a personality. When he does have a person, and it's Nicholas Latifi is quality crack. Like, he's funny. Like, Lance Stroll's a bit more chilled. He stays out the spotlight. But again, it's just like how you word things. Like, I don't need to go to that level. It's just unnecessary. But I can still say that, like, I don't think like Lance Stroll puts out as much of a personality as other drivers. But I can say that in a way that isn't just like unnecessarily like me being a dickhead. So
it's true, isn't it? Because this is the part of the never-ending dance where it's like, where is the line as far as what gets you borderline cancelled, or gets a couple of people in the comments saying that's not fair. And I think we are losing, the ability to maybe, or we are double thinking when we do say honest opinions. But of course, there's nothing. I think there's a real positivity to us, like being self-aware. I think that's a part of the content process. I was saying this to someone in
100%.
conversation recently. In person, if you meet me, I swear a lot. Like, it's like, and I on like Twitter, whatever. And Dre. Some people like don't really know where the border of my passion kind of lies.
Yeah.
But when I do the content, it's like I try not to, because it's like, you just don't know who's going to watch you. It might be like, you might get like BBC Three watching you, being like, okay, so fuck that. I can't use that guy. He said too much. And, so I think it's important. Like, what's been really great about like seeing maybe your development, Tommo, and, what I try and guide us lot and doing when we grow is like, you just got to be real. You've got to be able to say what you like and what you're interested in without being too fearful of like any kind of bizarre backlash and whatnot. And, for my, maybe Dre isn't the biggest Bottas fan. I absolutely love Bottas. I've had a lovely time with the guy. We threw down in Monaco. He was a great dude. And like, sure, we have a growing relationship coming up with Aston Martin. I wouldn't say Lance Stroll is my favorite racer, but that, and that, so be it. But nevertheless, I got to say, by the way, Tom, referencing West Ham, it's interesting, and I'm going to say, I've been waiting for the moment to say this on camera. West Ham are doing pretty good. Also, viewers of the alternative sport world, notice how Dre has barely mentioned he's a Liverpool fan anymore.
Oh, yeah. How about you're a Liverpool fan, Dre? That's interesting.
Did you see how I put the shirt over there?
So the little sliver.
I was thinking, I'm wondering if I'm going to be able to get through this whole show without. Last time I was laughing at West Ham hard, and now it looks like they're going to be getting they could.
How the
get the Champions League
turntables,
space,
as the famous meme goes.
Exactly, and this is the crazy thing, right? Like we all, as any neutral fan, loved it when David Moyes came into West Ham, said, "Winning, it's what I do," and it's crazy. It's pure crease up, but like, the irony of that statement is much more befitting of Jurgen Klopp. Who knows? Because as we record this podcast, it's off the day of them facing Atletico Madrid in the Champions League second leg. There is still a UCL run on the works, but Dre, kudos. You've been a lot more humble in most recent weeks. So, as you would say, salute.
That's actually been forced on me somewhat.
You ain't got much choice, have you? Let's be real.
No, I do have to,
I could talk. I mean, I can talk. I'm not going to just dish it out on Paul Dre. I'm a Portsmouth fan. We had to sack Kenny Jackett after losing to League Two Salford City in a penalty shootout. So,
I watched that. I watched that game as well.
Mate, I feel sorry for you, because that is, you lose hope with footballing standards when you watch games like that. But, it's what it is. Cheers, Kenny Jackett. Glad you gone, mate, because that was far too long. Nevertheless, as we kind of continue this content chatting story, one of the things that we wanted to come across, of course, being the new season of Formula One, was talking about liveries. And of course, Tommo, if you haven't seen it already, did a live stream a couple of days ago breaking down the 2021 F1 car liveries. Some interesting choices. And what I will say to you all now, before we kind of dip into this, and I'll try and be as spoiler-free as possible, just pause this video, head over to Tommo, check out the video. It's half an hour, but it's a watchable 30 minutes. And I was watching it in bed last.
Watchable. That's what I'm going for. Just watchable.
Exactly. And you know what?
That's it.
You know what? It's a great list. I'll leave it for you to spoil what you want. I'll pick up some highlights that interested me. P10 was, I don't know what you could describe it, but I actually kind of agree with you. Williams was in P10.
It's comfortable. It's not even close.
So
Come on.
what do I'll roll up my kind of highlights, and then we'll come to you, Tommo, on this. So P10 was the Williams, which I thought I can accept that. I've got a weird bias on who my number 10 would have been.
Okay.
I thought, wow, this is interesting. I really, really like the green on the Ferrari. It's disgusting. It is disgusting, but there's something about it that I'm into. Mission window, that weird green, bless up. Now, I would say what was at the top? I actually think fair play. I totally get that. I was actually really surprised, which I'm going to put out as my number 10, the Mother Russia ship of Haas. I don't know. I don't want to turn this into the world versus Russia kind of thing, but I felt like, oh my God, you're really trying hard. But then you know what? Alpine, they got the French flag vibe going on. So you know what? I can't contradict myself. Tommo, break it down. What was the criteria? How did we get here?
So I held off making that video because, again, with that video, I did a live stream, but I wanted to make it feel like an edit. So I had all the graphics prepared and all that. And obviously I was going through and again,
shout
for me,
Aston Martin, number 4.
Aston Martin, of course, of course. And actually I got the Aston graphic wrong because I kept changing my mind. Because for me, the liveries were there's a top 2 that were clear, like Mercedes and Red Bull. And then you had a bottom 3 that was clear. So in terms of Haas, Alfa and Williams on track. And then you had this middle where everything else was in a bit of a range. I wanted to kind of hold off because you see they do the launch and they show the renders. And the Alpha Tauri, for example, renders looked shocking. But you see that car on track and it looks so much more planted. Even just I don't know, the Alpha Tauri looks like it's on I don't know, it looks like it's on leaf springs or something. It's just sitting so high. It just looks weird. Because obviously a good livery is it has to work with the physical aesthetic of the car. It's not you can't have one without the other. I mean, I said if all the cars, is a shout out to you boys, Aston Martin. If all the cars were naked, I think the Aston Martin has the best looking just physical. If all cars were just black and no livery, I think the Aston Martin looks amazing. It just looks mean. But yeah, Williams bottom. Honestly, again, kind of funny story. The app kind of broke, didn't it? So someone hacked the app beforehand that they were going to do. And I saw a leaked image on Twitter and I was I was 100% sure it wasn't the actual livery because I thought there's no way that that's the actual livery. That's something that someone's created on F1 career modes on some made up F1 game that's not even legit. And I was there's no way it's real. And then I saw another one and I was oh, it's clearly just another screenshot from the same terrible mod. And then it actually came and I was what? It just breaks so many design rules that I abide by and live by. It's not my style and I just think it's terrible. The green Ferrari, I get it. It's a market. The mission window is not going to be on the car. It wasn't on the car at all last year. They might as well make it green just to get people to fucking talk about it, which we all have. Yeah. So they've ticked that box. And then the Mercedes AMG, it's just bit much. It's just again, but again, we're talking about it.
Why mess around with it?
It's anti-design because we talk about it, and then it draws the attention to AMG that they want. And the rest of the car's not awful. It's just that area of it is disgusting.
Bit of copy and paste cracking on there. But I think you made some interesting points. I think. Was it the Alpine car you discussed that would look great under the lights, or was it the Aston Martin? Yeah,
because of the satin. I think the Aston look good under the lights as well, but I think the satin finish, where it's we haven't really seen that. It's kind of tends to be either glossy or matte. And again, for Ferrari, I don't think that gradient at the back works with a matte paint job. I just think it looks like it's wet itself. It's got an oil leak that's just kind of got a bit out of hand. Whereas with the Alpine, the way that kind of, it's satin, half matte, half kind of metallic. I think that'll pop under the lights at Singapore, Bahrain and all that, which is another level. It's not just the colors. It's not just where you put the sponsor logos. It's also the kind of finishes that you use, the color, and again, obviously these are, the Ferrari is just a red car with stickers on it. So they're not going to, you know, they're not going to mess around too much with the colors, unfortunately. But yeah, man, I just think that there's so many levels to it. And also it's just so subjective at the end of the day. As much as I kind of call myself a designer, my opinion is not correct as much as I'd love to say it is. It's just not. Everyone's got a view. But I just think that Alfa Romeo, for me, is a phenomenal, it's one of my favorite liveries of all time. Comfortable top 5.
It's certainly a stunner. I think, you know, especially for Alpha and of AlphaTauri, it just has like a really kind of a well captured kind of old school feel about it. But Alfa Romeo has just absolutely nailed it. I totally agree. I think before I throw out to Dre, it was hard. It was a toss up for me between Alpine and Aston Martin being near the top. I think I think it's a bias to having a new looking livery. There was just something for me that really,
that's definitely a thing. That's definitely a thing.
Yeah. So those two would tussle up there. You know what? I think with McLaren, I think there is the fair shout that it feels underwhelming. And actually, you know, as the first car reveal, I was expecting something a lot more. When there was a lot of teasers of the graphics and the team wear and the kind of the gradient lines, I thought, oh, maybe they're going to do something quite brave with that. Okay. It's underwhelming. It's pretty much as identical to last year, of course. But there was something pretty damn good about seeing Danny Rick in a papaya. Something for me, it matches up. But yeah, at the top, Alpine and Aston Martin would battle it out for me. At the bottom, the Russian mothership of Haas would be there, with Williams in the shadows. And yeah, I mean, the rest, they could just fight it off in the middle. But Dre, as a man of style, a man of many jerseys, a man that likes colours. Man of culture, big up to Liverpool.
Let me pour my glass of wine here.
Yes. Indulge us, Dre. What is the phrase?
I jumped out the back. I jumped out. And when obviously we were speaking to Aston Martin, so I luckily got to see some of the car beforehand. I said to Matt, first of all, that I was disappointed it wasn't British Racing green. It felt a little bit, I don't know if you guys agree, like Mercedes-ish with the green.
Funny that. Mercedes-ish green with the very similar shape down the side of the car.
Yeah, funny that. Is but I do like it, and I had to think, actually, just as you guys were speaking, what's it going to look like under the light? So that's actually made me rejig my favorite, and I think I've gone back to Alpine, sorry, because I feel that car is going to look so nice under those lights. There's at least there's some thought into the design. The best car I've ever seen, the one of my favorite, is Mercedes last year. I just absolutely love that car, and I don't know why they messed around with it too much. Like, you know, what they could have done, I'm a no designer like Tommo, but I thought they would have just gone with a bigger red star or something like that, just keeping it simple, because it was so nice, the car that I had before. There's some, I mean, I've always loved the matte finish of Red Bulls, but obviously they just kind of kept the same car for the many years now. And the worst car I've seen, and I don't think we're going to get invited to anything anyway, and that's where my priorities lie, is Haas. Haas car is, I jumped out and I text both of you two straight away, and I was just like, what is this? And I even said, like, on my stories, you know, Tommo, you've got to redesign this one, like, because it is the worst. It's something I would do, like, if I was playing PlayStation and, you know, designing my own car and the kids were bothering me. It feels like someone's like, oh, all right, okay, I'll just send it. Here you go. Like, it just doesn't look that good. Right?
But this is the work of a billionaire that's clearly proud of where he's from. And, you know, I think, you know, I think we would do the same if we were an owner of a team and we were told, due to other people have made bad decisions in the world of sport, that, okay, your flag cannot be represented when you take the podium, and goodness me, that's going to cause a Twitter storm if that happens, let alone, and that's a conversation for another day. But, you know, that's what I'd probably do. I'd be like, yeah, mate, I'm going to put Union Jacks all over this car because we're not allowed to have off. Like, we're going to have it off. God save the Queen. Going to have like
British
a little
bulldog on the nose.
Yeah, exactly. Little teacup emoji on the side. Have the lot. So, you know what?
Fresh.
As much as I was really like I don't know why I cared, but it really bothered me when I saw the car. I was like, oh my God, I just.
You know what? Like, to that Haas, there's so many levels to it. Like, to be honest, like for me personally,
It looks
just
good on track though.
isolating everything else, just looking at the livery itself, I think it's quite nice. I think that's one of the few cars for me. Actually, I think the renders made it look slightly better than on track. But I still think, I mean, I put it as like 6th on my list. I put it ahead of the McLaren. I still think it's a solid looking car, but there's so many levels beyond just looking at it to it. You know what I mean? And that's bound to have an impact in the same way that people will criticize the Red Bull because it's the same livery, yet the Marlboro McLaren, it was the same livery from like 1983 to like 1996 or something, and it's iconic and everyone loves it. So you can't have it both ways. You know what I mean? There's so many other factors that influence our perspective on something, and that's why some people like, I think the Alfa Romeo is the next best thing, and some people in the comments were like, Alfa Romeo is trash, and I'm like, whatever you're smoking, I want some, because that's mad to me.
Well, this is the thing. It's at the end of the day, it's all a bit of fun picking out favorite designs and whatnot.
It's not that deep.
No, exactly. It's not that deep. We've all got our favorites. If we had the same Nando's order, we'd all be in trouble. So, we got to mix it up. So, it's what matters and what counts as points. Shout out Nando's, please sponsor the podcast. That'd be great. But we as we build up, we're going to release this on the day of the release of Drive to Survive. So we're not going to be able to review our thoughts, which will probably be the next episode we'll do. Is going to be a little cheeky review of that series. But let's kick it. As we kind of write down, Tommo, any wild predictions for the season? Is there something that's maybe a little logical that you're expecting, but anything also outlandish that you are looking forward to this year?
Well, so the opinion that I've been most vocal about, that people find the most disgusting and I've got the most stick for, I'll probably lead with that, is that I think over the course of the year, I think Esteban Ocon will outscore Fernando Alonso at Alpine.
I like it.
Dre, those eyes are big, mate. You're only small on my screen, but I can see the eyes there. And hear me out. I think Ocon improved towards the end of the year. Daniel Ricciardo obviously was going to beat him at the start of the year. It's Daniel Ricciardo. He's a phenomenal driver. I think Ocon, by the end of the year, had almost caught up to him in quali. Race pace wasn't a million miles off. Fernando's in his prime, top 10 of all time, no doubt. Incredible talent. But he's 39. He's just had 2 years outside of Formula One. Yes, he's done other motorsport. He's won in WEC, in World Endurance Championship. But again, that's a team sport. It's not just him. And it's not Formula One. And I just think that it's a lot to ask for Fernando to come in and perform relative to such a competitive midfield now. Because again, if you're thinking about the drivers in the midfield, you've got Charles, you've got Carlos, you've got Sebastian, you've got Stroll, who seems to be coming a bit better now. You've got Lando Norris, you've got Daniel Ricciardo, you've got Pierre Gasly, you've got Yuki Tsunoda. You've got so much talent. If Alpha and Haas Alpha, I have more confidence in, maybe Williams as well, start to cash up a bit. And then Red Bull as well. Like, to ask Fernando to come in at this stage of his career and outperform someone like Esteban Ocon, who's still only 24, he's improving all the time. He should be at his age. Like, I think it's a lot to ask of Fernando. So that's my big prediction, that I'm sure if it doesn't happen, I will get a lot of stick for, but so be it.
I'm into it. I feel like we've kind of we've had a lot of predictions on a show before, and they have been very, very wild. I believe we had we did it last year, didn't we? We had like a half season review with Josh Ravel, and he thought that Stroll was going to outscore Perez, and of course that didn't hold through. So we shall see on the prediction, I don't know, end of season prediction review show, whatever the hell we do down the line. We're going to review the tape, see what comes through, what comes good. But Dre, any outlandish things you would like to see? I'm guessing you're really looking forward to Bottas world champion, right?
Oh my God!
Come on,
I've got to make peace with Bottas. I have no, just for the record, I have no problems with him as a person. He seems like a really nice person, but he just seems boring to me. So that's the thing. Every single interview of his, I just literally switch off.
He's going to do a Nico this year, damn it. He's going to be a He's going to do a Rosberg this year.
Nico Rosberg, I like him. I like that whole era, the particular season when there was beef the whole time. I'm that type of drama person, as you can tell from all the jerseys behind me. I love drama. I can't take it. Just boring nonsense. There's nothing. To be honest, I'm still shocked by Tommo's one. Blasphemous statement that he just made there.
Dre, just like Liverpool, you can't live in the past.
You can't be on top forever. All right.
I'm gonna have to take this for this season. Please, Liverpool, please put me back where I can start talking crap to everyone again. No, there's nothing in particular. I think that I think that if I'm gonna bet on something, I think that Perez is gonna do probably better than Verstappen. I would say.
Oh, I like it.
I think that
I like it. I do like it.
For me. And this is no bias, and this is not my own personal judgment on feelings on Verstappen. But I just feel that he's more of a polished racer to me. But Verstappen hasn't had anyone, besides Danny Rick a little while ago when he's first starting, competent to be able to handle that car. And I feel that Perez is going to finish ahead of him. I'm not saying he's going to win the whole championship, but I feel that he will do that.
I really like it. I mean, this is going to be the ultimate test to see where Red Bull's kind of loyalties lie between an A/B driver. Of course, we saw the big difference, and it was almost like the Verstappen curse, where every teammate was basically doomed to being paired up. Perez had, he had the season of his life, got him sway into a seat, a pretty darn good seat. All respect to Albon. It could have gone either way. I'm very happy to see, Perez in the seat, because I really loved watching his story happen. And wow, I don't know, that Dre prediction, it crossed my mind. It's crossed my mind, and it got me excited. So all I can say is I look forward to seeing that happen. But last thing from me, of course, Bahrain will be in about a week's time as of the first landing of this podcast. We'll go around the room. We'll start with Dre first. Predictions for how we may see the first race of the season end.
I can't bet against Mercedes. I just think that they always leave a bit, in private for people to be able to kind of guess on what they're going to do. I think the track record is what it is. It's like they've always come good on the first race of the season. So I would say it's going to be, unfortunately, it will be very similar to what we've seen the last season. So please, new fans, stick with it, but look at the midfield race. So I'll go Mercedes, Red Bull, but it will be Perez who will finish second. I would say Bottas is going to finish third. Best of the rest, I would say I'm gonna go with Pierre Gasly finishing fourth.
Tommo.
Oh, boys. I mean, I'd love to come up with something, Yuki Tsunoda on pole, but look, you can't look past Lewis. I think Lewis is still managed to keep that motivation as high as ever, which is mad considering how many titles he's won, that he's still got the motivation to carry on just pushing. And it could be the last year of Lewis. So I think he's going to be on it more than ever. So I think Lewis P1, I still think Bottas P2. And then I'm going to say Ricciardo P3. I think Ricciardo's going to do a really good job at McLaren. I think Red Bull might come across some difficulties because, again, they typically have a bit of a rough start to the season. Is that justified this year? Probably not. But fuck it. Ricciardo P3. And then best of the rest. I suppose Ricciardo would be best of the rest, wouldn't it? But I'm saying, I think it's going to... Ocon P4. Go on. In Esteban, I trust.
I like that.
See, I like that.
You have to know your master him now that you said that.
I do.
With that punch.
I've literally got a video on Esteban Ocon that's primed and ready to go, all completely finished. And it's going to change many a mind about Esteban.
Saying, I told you.
It's 3 seconds long.
I really, it's hard because, as much as I really like Esteban. When he was still Mercedes reserve driver, we did some stuff with Autosport with him, and the most down to earth guy. Such like you just like him. I felt so sorry for him when when Max was giving him a load of crap like 2-3 seasons ago when they were doing the post. I just felt like what a sweet guy. Like he didn't like flip out anything. He just took the Verstappen shove and dealt with it. But and it's hard. I feel like I can't bet against the Spanish. Got a Spanish girlfriend, so I'm going to be expected to back the Spanish racers. But you know what? Fob off Alonso. I'm all team Sainz. So sorry, mate. Ocon, I'm backing it. I'm liking that. Predictions. If I was to have my 2 cents on the top 3, I'm going to do what I've managed to predict quite well the last season or 2. I love a Bottas P1 on the first race of the season.
He loves it.
I think it's just going to be one of those great things. It gets everyone excited. We're going to have Bottas at the top. Nico Rosberg will be trending on Twitter, and it's all going to be kicking off. Everyone's going to be like, oh, what's wrong with Lewis? And then he's going to turn it around. He's going to win it, break the Schumacher record, ride off on a sunset, and who knows what could happen. George Russell comes up through, and Bottas could be great. P2, I don't think Lewis is going to have a bad race. I think it's hard, like you said, Tommy, like it's hard to look past Lewis, but I just think, I feel like Lewis, looking at testing, I felt like Lewis was pushing the car to its boundaries, trying to see where he could have it, had those spins, beached, whatnot. But that's what you want to do. That is where you want to test yourself.
That's the point of testing.
Exactly. So I think a P2, I feel like this race is still a feeler. I think he's going to maybe play it too safe. And back in kind of Dre's point, I think I'm going to see a P3 with Perez. I think that will just be, that will light the fire under Verstappen's backside. But I feel as the season goes down the line, we're probably going to see it be between Lewis and Max. But who knows?
I definitely think as the season matures, Perez will. I think it will be like he said it himself. He said it himself that he understands why Pierre and Alex struggled so much with this car because he's jumped into it and he realizes he's going to have to change a lot about the way he approaches a car and how he puts the power and all that. I think that will take a few races, but I definitely think like by the middle of the season, I would not be surprised if Perez is maybe, because again, we're getting used to the Mercedes and then Red Bull up the top 3. But I think, we wouldn't be surprised if we saw Perez because Perez has got that maturity. Max's pace is unreal, but prime example, Turkey last year, Verstappen tries to go on the inside of Perez, silly move. Lewis wouldn't make that move. Perez wouldn't make that move. They've got the maturity to take their time, and Max probably should have won that race, but he didn't. He made that spin, and he's still liable. But I just think he's getting there with Max. He's getting that maturity, and he's quality.
I would say, there's characteristics I always say to Matt, like about a couple of the races. I know that if Max has to go around someone to be able to get to top 3 or top place, he does reckless things. There's an impatience that he has that Matt always says I blame him for everything, but I just feel that there's an impatience that he has I know that he's going to slide off and crash. That's why I didn't put him. That's why I didn't put him in the top 3. Because there's always something he does where the pressure's on or he wants to show off. There's something he does where it just goes too far and he's not measured. Perez has that pace, but he's a bit more patient. Obviously, he's older. Another person who has a characteristic is my brain's dead now, from Lance. So Lance, when someone's behind him and there's pressure on him, so if he has Hamilton behind him, then he can't handle that pressure. And then he always crashes out. And then he goes from 1 to 5 to 5th. So there's certain things that I look at this season. So that's something that Lance has to develop. Definitely be able to handle the pressure of being in front of people. Because, in that midfield battle, you've got some serious drivers there. So you got Ricardo who doesn't hesitate to go around you. You got Alonso who won't hesitate to go around you. You got you got your mate Lando now, who's an amazing defender. Like those types of things, I think that he has to handle, But no, those are the things I'm looking forward to. So, like, obviously, we're always championing new people to be able to come in and watch the sport. The uneducated person or the person who just wants to just be like, oh, they're just driving around in circles. You're looking at the midfield to be able to get yourself involved into the actual sport more so. That's what I would say. And then obviously watching Drive to Survive. Come on, man. I can't wait.
Exciting.
This weekend is
I've already actually been able to watch a few episodes.
Excuse me.
Sorry.
Sorry, just let's take our seat there, shall we?
Come on, Dre. Come on, Dre. You've interviewed Lando before.
Yeah,
Tom.
I was going to say, man. I'm surprised you haven't.
You've been in you need to get on your emails, mate. You do.
Yeah,
it's good.
F1, what's going on here? Like, I'm sorry.
Exactly. Get on emails.
Good.
It's like an angry younger brother. Excuse me. What?
Excuse me. I'm going to get an email in capitals.
Where's my access?
Exactly.
What's going on here?
One more point I do want to make as well, because you touched on it with Lance Stroll, is that the importance of confidence. You saw after Lance had that tyre blowout at Mugello last year, where he was having a great race, and then he missed a couple of races with COVID. He never got that confidence back. You look at Pierre when he was at Red Bull, confidence was shot. Gets in the AlphaTauri, smashing it. Alex had a really good end of 2019 with Red Bull. Gets punted by Lewis twice. Confidence shot, never recovered it. Sebastian Vettel, no confidence in the car. Being a really talented driver and having that ability to extract and that confidence to extract the most out of your package, they're two kind of separate things. And someone like Lewis is always able to, he doesn't let his confidence waver. He doesn't let that affect his performances. But younger drivers, and Seb's always struggled with managing his emotions, when he drove into Lewis in whatever year that was, like 2018, when he, was pissed off at him. There's certain drivers who can manage that better than others. And I think that's the difference. That's what makes a great driver. It's not just being really, really quick. It's having the confidence and having the belief in yourself and the mentality to extract that week in, week out. But yeah, man.
That's it. The Stroll party. Last thing from you chaps. Just need a name. Don't need to dig into this too deep. I think arguably last season, surprise of the season was the Gasly Gasly win at Monza. Who is going to deliver the shock of the season this year? Dre, starting with you. Just give us a name.
I don't know. I think the new it escapes me. I'm the worst with names. New AlphaTauri driver.
Sonoda.
I think Sonoda.
Guys,
I think that he
stole my answer.
He looks good. He looks
Stole
good.
my
I
answer.
read Matt's brain there. Yeah, I think that I'm just judging this from what I've seen. This is really early to be able to predict that, but I definitely think I would say, all right, I'll lay my bets on this. AlphaTauri will get a win this season.
Tommo, so you get sir.
I would love to say Sonoda, but I think it's important to remember 3 years ago, he was still racing in Formula 4. I think he's definitely got the pace, but again, like Max has got the pace, but the mentality isn't quite there for different reasons. And I think Sonoda take a bit of time. I'm sad Esteban Ocon. I've been doing a lot of reading into Esteban. Esteban's story, we think Lewis comes from humble beginnings, but that's nothing compared to like what Esteban came through. Like he genuinely is a genuine rags to riches story. Like the story of him coming through karts and it's just him and his mum. Like I feel like he's got that, that like working class, like grit of like when you really, when struggle and how grateful you are to be. I don't know. There's just something about Esteban. Like Toto Wolff's seen something in him clearly. He beat Verstappen, remember, in Formula 3. But Verstappen ended up... It's mad. Esteban Ocon beat Verstappen in Formula 3, but then Verstappen got the Toro Rosso seat that next year. And then Esteban was almost out of a seat and Toto saved him. So, yeah, Esteban Ocon for me, I think a lot of people are underrated him. A lot of people think, including you, Dre, that Alonso's going to slap him up. I disagree. I think Ocon's going to prove a lot of people wrong this year.
It is all to be revealed. And I think, this is a season to be excited about. We've got new teams, new rookies, and of course, when we go into 2022, all change. So we've got a lot to look forward to. But Tommo, thank you so much, of course, as ever, for spending this time talking shop, talking cars and colors and all that good stuff and all the madness that F1 can bring us. As we ride off into the sunset, my good man, as we've heard, awesome Ocon videos coming up soon. But of course, across the many platforms of social, Twitch, YouTube, whatnot, where can we find you?
You can find me on YouTube if you just type in Tommo. I appear to be the first result if you just type that in. So I got the F1 out of my name because whatever, it's a long story. And then on Twitch, also you can find me at Tommo Live. I actually play a lot of Pokemon on there at the minute. I'm loving my Pokemon at the minute.
Pokemon guy, love that.
The old games, like the nostalgic games, I'll play for it and that. I'm enjoying that. And and then Tom McCluskey _ on Twitch, on Twitter, sorry. I'm very active on Twitter. I like to share my opinions to the world. So yeah, thank you for having me, boys. Pleasure as always.
Always a pleasure, man.
I look forward to hopefully getting up the I was going to say getting up the shard soon. That sounds a bit strange.
Anytime, darling.
Out of context, Tommo.
Absolutely.
Never invite him back on the show again.
Exactly. That's it. We'll put him on the blacklist afterwards. Dre, as always, thank you so much.
Probably best.
That's the way we roll. Exactly. So yeah, hit up Verge Magazine to see all good stuff. Hit Alternative Sport a little cheeky subscribe if you feel like it. You might see us mugs and other randoms along the way. We are the Alternative F1 Podcast, and we shall see you next time.